I'm going to admit a prejudice right up front. I like perfect rhyme. I enjoy it. I admire it. I have a better time in the theater when the rhyme is perfect. There's, for me, a disappointment factor when the rhymes don't rhyme, or maybe I'll wince. I'm actually uncomfortable when there's a rhyme that is close, but ooh, not exactly right. Let me lay out the case for when to use rhyme and when not to use rhyme, because there are scores, there are kinds of songs, there are kinds of genres in which rhyme is less important and in fact not even encouraged. And let me see if I can balance those for you. But again, I will admit my prejudice and I will always tip towards perfect rhyme. What does rhyme do for you? Well, first and foremost, it helps the audience's understanding of a lyric. It gives them some clarity. Again, they're listening to the lyric often for the very first time. So a rhyme will clarify the thought. They have a sense of anticipation of what the thought is going to be, and the rhyme clinches it. It actually just aids with the understanding for the audience. It will also organize a lyric for you into discrete packets of thought, either at the couplet level or the quatrain level, and it will, in subsequent verses, allow some callback and some give and take of thoughts of earlier stanzas with later stanzas. Rhyme is a beautiful device for connecting thoughts across stanzas. But it will also button a thought. When you get to a rhyme, you're in theory at the end of a thought. Perhaps it's not a full stop, perhaps it's not a full period, it might be dash dash, but at least it completes a unit of thought. Those are both good things, right? You want your audience to understand your lyric. Do you not? Yes, you do. Do you not want to organize and button a thought? Are you clear there? Great, let's go on. As opposed to like this paragraph where it's just amorphous. Will he ever get to the end? No, he won't. Does he ever punctuate? No, he does not. It will also, however, organize the thought of the character. The character can, discreetly demarcate, here's this idea. Great, let me set that aside. Rhyme, period. Now, let me go on. So it helps with the dramatic beats of the character. There are a couple more advantages to rhyme. That is, along with setting up an audience's expectation, you'll get, there's a classic way to describe vaudeville jokes or storytelling, where here's the setup, here's the punch. Setup, punch. And a rhyme that is landed right at the punch will, again, help deliver the surprise or help deliver the joke. So I would, for me, all those combined, of delivering the thoughts and more understanding, and I just plain like it. That's the case that I have to make for rhyme. Let me make the case for the cons of rhyme. Why would you not rhyme? I had to work pretty hard at this, trying to make the case, but some of these I agree with. When you have rhyme, it can sound old-fashioned because a lot of pop music does not use rhyme, or at least not as regularly or as rigidly. So when there is a regular pattern of rhyme, particularly clever and triple rhymes and intricate rhymes and a whole rhyme scheme, that's from a more old-fashioned era. A pop song does not deal with rhymic intricacies, and so you immediately peg the song as being old-fashioned and a little bit stilted. That can be a good thing if you're writing an old-fashioned musical. That can be a bad thing if you're writing a contemporary musical. Here's another really good reason not to rhyme. It limits your word choice. English has a paucity of rhymes. The Romance language, like French and Italian and Spanish, have a lot of, many, many more rhyming words than does English. Their conjugations will allow you to have a lot more word choice. So the poor Englishmen have inherited the notion of rhyming forms from the French, but they don't have as many syllables with which to rhyme. So to have perfect rhyme, you've got this particular thought, you go to the rhyming dictionary, it's like, I can't find the nuance of what I'm looking for. A near rhyme can allow you the nuance that a perfect rhyme cannot. That's a really good reason not to rhyme, is if the rhyme is in there just for rhyme's sake, yes, it rhymes, but it's not exactly what I want to say, then you might consider having no rhyme there. A rhyme can be restricting. You can feel like you're being put inside of a box, inside of a form. You want a little more creative freedom as opposed to writing exactly paint by numbers. I respect that viewpoint, that creative viewpoint. I don't necessarily advocate that. I'm not sure that that is a strong reason not to rhyme because you feel restricted, because you can get all kinds of other creative joy and thoughts out of, a limited parameter can often spring all kinds of creativity, whereas kind of open-ended, not so limiting, you might wind up going to the same well over and over again. You might not search for new inspiration. So I'm not sure, although I'm putting it in your corner as I feel restricted when I have to use rhyme. I don't feel that's one of your strongest arguments. Rhyme will tend to create a formal sounding lyric, and therefore not as colloquial. Sondheim is classically quoted. I'm going to paraphrase his quote, but he's classically traditionally embarrassed by the lyric that he wrote for Anita in West Side Story. Is it Anita? No, it's Maria who's saying, how it's alarming how charming I feel. It just doesn't sound authentic. A rhyme can be very self-conscious, by which I mean it calls attention to the lyricist rather than to the meaning of what you're trying to say. Like, look how clever my rhymes are. Aren't I clever rhyming, It'd-be and Schmidt'd-be? It'd-be and Schmidt'd-be. Find me the song in which Schmidt'd-be is a lyric, and I'll say, yes, that's self-conscious. But the more clever the rhyme, the more the lyric is about the lyricist and less about the character, which would, if you're the kind of lyricist, as I am, who loves perfect rhyme, that will tend you to look for projects in which the character or characters are more erudite, more educated, more old-fashioned, more period, in which rhyme and cleverness is not as out of character, and thereby hide under the cloak of, well, I have a clever character. It's the character who rhymes so beautifully. It's not about the lyricist. Please pay no attention to my perfect craft. And then lastly, rhyme is hard. Yes, rhyme is hard. That's really a good reason not to do it, right? That's the best case I can make. The first two, I think, are legitimate reasons. The other reason is if you're writing in a pop idiom, pop music does not use rhyme. And if you're writing with country music, country really likes its near rhyme. In fact, perfect rhyme is quite eschewed there. So it would be inauthentic to the genre if you're overly rhyming in a pop score or in a country score. I buy that argument. Having then compared pros and cons, let me now go back and see if I can bolster the case for prose. Let me do this by way of talking about alliteration, consonance, and assonance. Old-fashioned term. Let me see if I can get that. There we go, yes. Alliteration, consonance, and assonance. Old-fashioned terms, you're probably going, we had to study those a little bit in school, or we didn't study those at all in school. I think I know what alliteration is, but I've never heard of consonance or assonance. In this moment in time, I want to talk mainly about assonance and how powerful and important it is in a musical like Hamilton, a hip-hoppy kind of score, where assonance is one of the most pyrotechnic, one of the most strongest and dominant elements of the diction of the lyric. But before I dive straight into assonance, I want to talk a little bit, remind you, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you have studied alliteration and consonance. In fact, you're already looking on the screen and going, yeah, please don't, I got it. But alliteration is the repetition of initial sound, like Peter Piper. Initial is consonants, Ronald Reagan, wicked as a witch. But it can also be a vowel sound, like Abby's with apples. Consonance is the repetition of consonant sounds in two or more neighboring words or syllables. In other words, having the consonant sound close to each other, so they bang up. It could be the middle of words, or it could be the beginning. The point is that consonants, like busy as a misery, you hear all that Z going on. It's not initial. If it's initial sound, it's alliteration. Consonants is there could be in any position. They could be at the beginning or the middle or the end. Smiling at the summer moon. Not only the S's there are alliteration, smiling at the summer, but look at the M's. The M's there are consonants. Smiling at the summer moon. Or a miserable zebra. All right? Let me talk about assonance, which is the repetition of vowel sounds in two or more neighboring words or syllables. Here's some classical examples, but then I'm going to go on to contemporary examples. As long as he needs me, you hear that that vowel sound. And it's not designed to rhyme. It's not in a rhyming position. It's just using that E. Say, he needs me. Someone to hold you too close. Hold close. Someone to hold you too close. Oh. I weave with brightly colored strings. And you're saying, wait a minute, where's the assonance in that? E with I, the or E. There's no assonance. Compare it to the next line. I keep my mind off other things. I'm going to point those out. E. In fact, let me underline here a little bit at the risk of going a little bit more slowly. We've got Kim, you can do it. I weave to keep. Weave, keep. With brightly mind. E, I weave brightly, keep mind. And then we've got other and other. And then we've got ings and ings. Look at that. He has put the assonance in one line that bounces off the next line. E, I, ing. I weave, I brightly colored strings to keep my mind of other things. That is assonance at work there. Let us look at it in, let me, why do you use assonance? Well, in theory, it it has the same kind of functions as rhyme because it can be used to heighten the understanding because it sort of takes a little highlighter and emphasizes words. It can organize a lyric. You can organize a lyric exactly the same way as you would with rhyme, only with assonance. Can organize the character's thought. Like, great, now I've used the E sounds, e, mini, he, mini, he, mini, he, mini, him. Now I'm moving on to a different thought. I'm going to use the aw sounds, and ama. So you can say that one's done with that thought, moving on to the next thought. Do the same kind of setup punch, where you've got, assonance and then another assonance, and so you're aiming for a 1, 2, 3. You're setting up the audience expectation. Wonderful assonance, as we'll see in Hamilton, is a joy to behold. It's just an amazing, spectacular, just a wonderful poetic wash on the ears. It will also heighten a joke. I want to see that in action. Where I'm headed with this, though, is I want to compare the power of assonance to perfect rhyme. And my thesis is that it's true that assonance will do all the same things that rhyme will do, but rhyme will do it with much more power, with much more conviction, that a joke told with assonance is a little bit softer than the same joke told with a perfect rhyme. That the audience's understanding in perfect rhyme is actually a little bit clearer than the audience's understanding in assonance. You see where I'm headed with that, but let us examine some assonance. This is from Hamilton. Gotta put my glasses on. I want to look at those first 3 lines. You can see reel a second, millisecond, feel a second. So reel a second rhymes with feel a second, but millisecond is assonant. But what I really want to look at is down here under general. Modern major general. So we can see in the next line, venerated Virginia veteran, who's mineral, general, and then we've got mineral. A perfect rhyme pronunciation of that would have to be mineral. He's not trying for perfect rhyme there. He's trying for sound like general, mineral, and then we've got pedestal. Do you see that? Eneral, general, mineral, pedestal. But then he's got it here in relatives and elegance and eloquence. But he also has it, I'm backing up a little bit, he's got it here in venerated. Venerated, veteran, embellishing, elephant. Good heavens. Now that's something that rhyme can't do. Because if you had that much rhyme, it would just be, it would be too much. It would be more than Dr. Seussy. You just couldn't have that many. But where assonance, it has this cumulative, wonderful tumult of expression. Now, I'm the model of a modern major general, the venerated Virginia veteran, whose men are all lining up to put me on a pedestal, writing letters to relatives, embellishing my elegance and eloquence, but the elephant in the room, the truth is in your face when you hear the British cannons go. So do you see when the assonance finishes after elephant in the room, we've cleared that thought, and then we get to, but the truth is in your face. The thought shifts when the assonance shifts. All right? Gotta love that. Mwah, amazing craft. We might come back to this to look at the perfect rhyme here on room and boom. All right? This is, just for kicks, let's look at what Mr. Gilbert did because of the Major General. Because there's a a reference here too. And in the theater, when he says, I'm the model, in Hamilton, I'm the model of a modern major general, you get a laugh because it's a callback to this particular Gilbert and Sullivan lyric. Gilbert is doing, who wrote this lyric, he's got that same sort of vegetable, mineral, general. None of those rhyme. And I think in Gilbert's day, that's a bit of a flaw in this lyric. He gets much more persnickety when he gets to historical, categorical, mathematical, quadratical, and because he set up these, this rhyme scheme, this perfect rhyme scheme, then he gets to lotta news, and to a lotta news, then he gets a joke out of a perfect rhyme of hypotenuse. That is stretched, that is strained, and again, it calls attention to the lyricist. Aren't you funny, W.S.? Yes, you are. He put it into the book where the Major General is kind of fumbling for the lyric of, I'm teaming with a lot of news, many facts about the square of the, what is it? In that particular moment in time, that character throughout that song fumbles for tortured rhymes and comes up with them, and everybody admires him for that. I'm not sure that that's, there's a little bit of that in Wicked. I think, popular, she has to go popular, or, etc. But you want to use that pretty sparingly, the calling attention to the lyricist or calling attention to the character. But I would take Mr. Gilbert to task of saying that these rhymes up here are not up to his standards. Vegetable, mineral, general do not rhyme, and I'm sure he was aware of it, but couldn't pull it off. So if Gilbert came through my lyric lab and I would say, I think you want perfect rhyme here, go back. And he might, sorry, didn't mean to whack the mic there. Then before we leave assonance completely, this is from a rap song by Polo G, right? I want you to see how he's rhyming. There's some words in this lyric I shall not say out loud. Not only because it would just be embarrassing for me to pretend I'm as Cool J or cool as anybody, but there's some lyrics I can't say. So we've got new shape, so that's ooh-a. Me with my new bay, that's ooh-a. I'm like Cool J, ooh-a. Too late, ooh-a. Suitcase, ooh-a. Blue face, ooh-a. Blu-ray, 2K, new wraith, crew chased, shoelace, and clock 22 spray, ooh-a. So, does shoelace rhyme with suitcase? It does not. I don't know if you've heard this lyric. It's very rapid and very impressive. And again, the shape of plowing through that assonance has a similar effect as rhyme, but these are nothing like rhyme. Here's where I would like to try to make the case that near rhyme is not as powerful as perfect rhyme. I'm going to take an example from an old Golden Age musical, Guys Dolls, and compare it to a current musical, Hamilton. Here we have, I'll read it first. In other words, this is from Adelaide's Lament. In other words, just from waiting around for that little band of gold, a person can develop a cold. And then later she says, in other words, just from wondering whether the wedding is on or off, a person can develop a cough. Those generally get laughs in the theater, depending on the performance of the Adelaide. And what I'd like you to do is to swap this word cold with this word cough. My point being that if it doesn't rhyme, it's not as funny. I'll say the first one. In other words, just from waiting around for that plain little band of gold, a person can develop a cough. It's not funny at all. Second stanza here. In other words, just from wondering whether the wedding is on or off, a person can develop a cold. Do you hear that? In my ear, near rhyme has that same effect. If it's not perfect, it doesn't bang. The joke is not delivered. Same all the way through that list of how rhyme works. It's just not as well organized. In other words, just waiting around for that plain little band of gold, a person can develop a cough. In other words, just wondering whether wedding is on or off, a person can develop a cold. It just is not as structured. It's not as buttoned. It's not as definitive. It's not as hard a line. Let us look what example I have here. This is from Hamilton. The important stuff here is the last two lines, but Monsieur Hamilton, Monsieur Lafayette, in command where you belong, how you say, no sweat, we're finally on the field. We've had quite a run. Immigrants, we get the job done. That gets a big laugh in the theater. Immigrants, we get the job done. And not only because it's a comment on today's immigration society and the shunning of immigrants and how they're the backbone of work, blah, blah, blah. It gets a big, hoot that way. But I also posit that a great deal of that is because this is a perfect rhyme. We've got run and done. I have rewritten this line, and I'm going to say it without the perfect rhyme and see if you think, yeah, that is not as strong. Same meaning. Monsieur Hamilton, Monsieur Lafayette, in command where you belong, how you say, no sweat, we're finally on the field. We've had quite a run. Immigrants, we finished the job. So I think the audience would still go, yay, immigrants, but I don't think they would laugh and then go, yay. Or if they do laugh, I don't think it would be as hard. We've had quite a run. Immigrants, we finished the job is not as strong as we've had quite a run. Immigrants, we get the job done. Just saying. I have laid out my case as best I can. I will leave you with the thought that if you are not working in a pop lyric, if you are working in more traditional classical Broadway forms, you really, really want to use perfect rhyme. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I think I'm going to go ahead and do the rhyming dictionary thing. Here, let's put that white on the screen. Let me grab this rhyming dictionary. If you don't have this book, you want to get it. This, in my opinion, and in fact, not coincidentally, in Stephen Sondheim's opinion, is the best, in fact, sort of the only rhyming dictionary to have or to use. It's organized in a series of columns. so that the words themselves stand alone as you're scanning it, as opposed to other rhyming dictionaries or online dictionaries where it's all one big, run, bun, fun, crun, frun, 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 frun. This, because of the columns, it goes run, bun, cun, fun. You can see, in fact, let me, if that's where you're going to start, then let's find un. Lunch, bunch, let's do unch. If you don't have this book, you should get it. The Clement Wood Complete Rhyming Dictionary is, in my not very humble opinion, the best and really the only rhyming dictionary to use. Stephen Sondheim shares my opinion, so you know mine is valid. It's organized in single rhymes, double rhymes, triple rhymes. So if you're looking for double rhyme, they're all in the middle section of the book. If you look for triple rhyme, it's all at the end of the book. But furthermore, they're organized in columns so that you can see, here for instance is page 260, unch, boxed lunch, brunch, bunch, clunch, crunch. Each one of those words, because it's on its own line, it sits in your ear all by itself, as opposed to other dictionaries where they've got them, or online dictionaries where they have them all in one big, separated by commas. Your eye goes, I can't find one. Here, each word can kind of resonate in your eye. Let me talk you through the organization of this book. I get no percentage of the sales here. I just know that this has been very useful to me over the years. Look at page 242 in this particular edition. So you can see, you got to follow the vowel sound in this particular case. I'm on or for whatever reason, orn, and it will have the vowel sound followed by the consonants. Orn, orn, orned, orp, ors, orsk, orst, ort, ort, orth, ors, ord. So and ors and o's. So you can kind of follow the. You follow the sound of the word rather than the spelling of the word. So for instance, you might find under U-M, or it might be under O-O-M. So it has single, darn it, try this again. Ort, comport, I'll just do it there. If you don't have this book, you want to get it. I'm If you don't have this book yet, you should get it and buy it in hardback. You're going to want to keep this for the rest of your life. I've gone through about 4 editions myself. In my opinion, if you don't have this book yet, you want to get it. In my never very humble opinion, it's the best, and in fact only, rhyming dictionary to have. And Stephen Sondheim happens to agree with me, so you know my opinion is right. It is organized by single rhyme, double rhyme, triple rhyme. So you know if you're trying to find a rhyme for Iberty, you're going to go to the triple rhyme section and look under the I, B, R, so you find it under the vowel sound, I, B. But more importantly, it's laid out in columns. You can see, for instance, here, ort, gosh darn it. If you don't have this book, you want to get it right away. In my never very humble opinion, it is the best, and in fact only, rhyming dictionary to have. It's organized by single rhymes, double rhymes, triple rhymes, so it's easy to find what you're looking for. More importantly, it's laid out in columns so that each particular word has its moment in your ear. It lives in your ear, as opposed to other dictionaries, other rhyming dictionaries, or online dictionaries where they're separated by columns and it's all one big glob. For instance, see here, ort, comport, country court, court, Davenport, decourt, deport, and each one just sits there. The second section of double rhymes here. Awking, bemocking, blocking, clocking, cocking, docking. So as you're writing a lyric, you know you're looking for an awking rhyme, you can see all of them, and each one will resonate. The triple rhymes, for instance. We've got, pick one. Cavity. Cavity, concavity, depravity, gravity, pravity, suavity, as opposed to suavity, suavity. There's also a fantastic section up front in the what he calls the Poet's Craft book. You'll want to look at the second part, the technique of versification, rhythm, that will really talk you through the ba-dum, 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 and ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, and how to mark it and what it's called. It's really useful knowledge to have. Old-fashioned, it's academic, but it's really good tool to have. And then chapter 3, or part 3, the technique of versification, rhyme. Also really, really good, clear examples talking about the function and type of rhyme and so on. However, I caution you that this is a book for poets, not for lyricists. And therefore, you will find some rhymes that are acceptable to a poet, where, for instance, family and me. I wonder if we can, let me see if I can find the E page. Yeah, here. Family, fantasy, fatality, fatuity, feathery, fecundity. These do not rhyme in a lyric. They rhyme in a poem. And his job here is not to serve the lyricist, but to serve the poet, and to have the poet say, if you're a near rhyme kind of person, here's lots and lots and lots of E rhymes. So you can't count on, well, it's in Clement Wood. Clement Wood says family and E and me rhyme. He doesn't. He has listed them here for the poet, not the lyricist. So you still have to apply your rigorous rules and the judgment of your ear to accept the word that he's proffering. You can't take all of them as lyrics. But it's extraordinarily useful book. I myself have gone through 4 editions and have marked them up and annotated them and so on. All right, there you go. Good luck with that. And done. And